I'm not even sure if you heard that, but I had to get a lot of stuff set up there that I thought I had set up, but I didn't. But yeah, welcome to the workshop design stream. First one we're going to be doing is going to be a few sets probably because it might take a little bit to get all the stuff in and how everything works and everything. But my name's John. If you have any questions, comments, or anything, uh, make sure you drop them in the comments. And yes, this will VOD. I'm assuming that means video on demand, maybe. But yeah, this should be saved. You should be able to go back to it later. So hopefully you can hear me. I'm not sure if you can hear me. Yeah, let me know if you can hear me or not, because it's giving me a weird audio bitrate notification right now. Oops. Man, my whole system is just like going crazy right now. I think so. We had lightning strike here not too long ago, like really recently, and I think it's kind of messing a lot of stuff up. That is not what I'm looking for. Oh, loud and clear. Perfect. Love it. Awesome. All right. Well, I think people will filter in, filter out. This is going to be recorded, so you can always come back to it later. However, I am working through Photoshop today. I'm pretty sure you can do this through GIMP or whatever you would like to do. I don't think it makes much of a difference what you do. GIMP is kind of like Photoshop. It is the application version that's free. It's very limited in what you can and can't do compared to Photoshop. Photopea is the online version of Photoshop. I'm not even sure if Photoshop has an online version as well, but you don't have to download an app, and I'm not sure if that is free or not. You feel free to check it out, but I do know Adobe does offer a 30-day free trial, so if you're looking to get into it, this is probably a good place to start. But we are going to get started. So when you, yeah, and that is my bot that's going to talk to me for comments through TikTok here. So if you hear that, sorry. Yeah, I'm up in South Carolina. I know from here all the way back to the family's house in Virginia Beach, they got hit. We got hit hard, but I was only able to cut half my grass today. But so I'm just going to start out by going to our website here. And I'll show you what I'm using. If you're watching the stream live or if you signed up for this workshop, you got these for free. But we are going to be using the Smart Vector. That is the next gen Smart Vector. Is $5 on our website right now. And that gets you all three for Chevy and Toyota, and I can already tell us the. I appreciate sharing that live. Yeah, you can go get this. You'll get the Ford, the Chevy, the Toyota, all that together. It's going to come with a Photoshop and an AI file. The perk to this, I'll show you in just a second, but once you download it, you're going to open up both Photoshop and the AI file. You might get a little message that looks like this here, asking you to relink it. And all you have to do is just go to wherever you have it saved at. Always duplicate it so I can come back later. And I have mine saved right here. I'm just gonna relink it. And when I do that, it's gonna pop up or be right here, this orange tab here. And then just double click on that box, and this is gonna open up our Photoshop. And it should open up the, not Photoshop, my Illustrator. Let's see, what will be your Illustrator file. Adjust some of these tabs, and then you will also have, what is going on? This is my first time streaming to both, I'm sorry. All right, so like I was saying, if you're following along with this right now, you can open up this and you're gonna have your Illustrator file here and your Photoshop file here. So we don't really need these directions. When we're working in Photoshop, these are all the layers that you're gonna have here on the right hand side. You can find them in layers. It might be collapsed when you first open it, and you just have to hit layers, probably at the bottom, and it will come up. You have to kind of think of your layers panel as like a bird looking down on the ground. So whatever's on top is what you're going to see first, and then everything underneath it's going to be hidden if one of these eyeballs is on. So we're going to turn this directions layer off. Now I do have another video that shows how to set up your hotkeys if you would like to do what I'm doing here, where we can update this design in real time. This is what I'm working on for a guy right now. Not finished yet, but I'm gonna get rid of it. I have this set where I can just hit Shift F2 and it's going to update what I have in my Photoshop file. And that video, I'll link it somewhere in the description afterwards, but pretty easy to set up, really. But you can find that. Right now we're just going to start in Illustrator. That's where I start all my designs at. Here's same thing, your layers panel. That's what we're going to be working with mostly. Might come with directions. I'll just turn those off. Make sure everything is locked except for this design here layer. And that is where we're going to start at first. Photoshop is a breeze compared to AI. I first learned Adobe off Illustrator first, and I think it was very helpful because I thought Photoshop was so difficult to learn after that. But I love Illustrator. Illustrator is amazing. But perk of Illustrator is that it's a vector format. So let's show you here. If I make like a circle, you can see I can zoom in and keep zooming in, and you'll never get these little square pixelated spots. Whereas on Photoshop, if I were just to create a perfect circle somewhere, not a perfect circle, but when I zoom in, you'll get these pixelations like this because it is not a vector format. That's kind of the perk of working in Illustrator first. That's the whole perk of this, because when I hit Control S, and you should have this already set up in your Illustrator file if you're working the Smart Vector, hit Control S, this is automatically going to update to your Photoshop file. And that's all you have to do. It's like, you make any design we want to, and hit Control S, and it'll pop up. And if you save your hotkeys, like in the video I was talking about, which mine is Shift F2, automatically going to pop up on our car. Trying to check my stream at the same time to make sure we're working at the same speed here. About the copy and paste kind of thing. Kinda. I remember when I first started making templates and stuff, I was doing that and I hated that. It just was not good. And I'll show you a method kind of near the end here about how I transfer my templates over from Illustrator to Photoshop. But we're going to work in this design here later. You can turn your wireframe off if you don't want it. This car, the skirts kind of line up nicely. If you're working with the ARCA cars, especially the new ones, the skirts do not line up. So if you draw something down, say you make a design that's like this, that passes over this little green line here, which is going to be your brake and your panels. This bottom piece of paint will be like further up than this top piece of paint because the skirts don't line up. But for this next gen cars, all of them, they generally match up pretty well. Only thing you have is this little lip here, and it still lines up really well. So this is an easy one to start with to learn on. So a little bit of hotkeys that you kind of need to know first before we get going anywhere. First one is, if you don't know this one, this is the lifeline of all design. Control Z is undo. And then this is for Illustrator, by the way, not for Photoshop. Photoshop's just a little bit differently. If you hit, I believe it's the A key. I don't really use these hotkeys that much. A is going to be your direct selection tool, which is this little thing here. With direct selection, let's say we have a shape like this. If I use my A key and go to direct selection, or just hit this one over here, I can just edit one corner at a time. Whereas if I hit just selection itself, which is V, just hit V, and click on this shape, it's going to move the whole object around. And we hit Control C to undo that. Next one you need to know is your spacebar. So when I have my selection tool on, if I hit spacebar and hold it, I can move this anywhere I want to. The next one we're going to do is Alt plus your scroll wheel. I should do this. Come on. That's going to be your zoom. So if I hold Alt and I zoom in my scroll wheel, this is how I kind of get around. Then spacebar. Oops. Not on the type tool. Spacebar with the selection tool. I can move this around anywhere I want to. And then the other one is going to be Alt plus click. And what that's going to do is going to be our duplicate, which is pretty helpful. So I can just hold Alt and move it over. And then if you have any experience with Photoshop or Illustrator, you know that if you hold Shift when you're moving something, it keeps on the same plane here. So that's kind of the main hotkeys you kind of need to know first. That's kind of what I use all the time for everything. Now before I go any further, if you're watching this, make sure you go up to View. And I have my smart guides turned on. What this does is let's just turn these off for a second. Where did it go? Smart guides off. Okay, so if I try to move this and line it up perfectly with this other box here, I'm actually gonna make this red so you can see it. I'm trying to line it up with this other box. It might not line up exactly. I can zoom in. I'm still trying to get it just right. And it's just kind of hard to line up. But say that I have my smart view or smart guides on, I can line this right here and it snaps into place. I also have snap to point and snap to glyph on. That just makes it a lot easier. And then I know your panel might not look like this on the side, on the left hand side. This is if you go to Window and go to Workspace. I have mine set to Essential Classic. And you can play around, do whichever one you want. This one just, I'm used to this one. I don't know what's better or worse, but I'm just used to that one. So, kind of like the start of what we need to do. Some of the big things we use here when I'm designing, don't really use the magic wand in Illustrator too much, or this lasso tool. I do use the pen a lot. This is just a straight pen. If your mouse looks like this little pin here and you hate that, like I do, you hit caps lock and it turns into this X. And I feel like I have better control of that. Next one is this curvature tool here. Kind of the same thing, but it's going to make perfect curves, or really smooth curves, I should say. So I can make good circles that are very smooth when I want to. And then from here, I can just select any point that I want and adjust however I want. And say we want this right here to be a point and these to be curved, I just double click on this one point and it makes it a sharp point instead. Boom. This T is going to be your type tool, pretty self-explanatory. This line segment tool, I don't really use the arc spiral. If you hold any of these, it'll open up more options. I usually just use the line segment if I'm going to do anything. That's just one line at a time. You have your square, you have rectangles, you make ellipse, polygon, star. I've never used a flare. Don't really use the paintbrush here if I'm going to paint stuff. I usually do that in Photoshop. It's a lot easier to do it there. Shaper is not important. Eraser is not important for Illustrator. The whip tool is a pretty cool tool, depending on what you're trying to do. So let's just say that we have this black line here. Now I can use my whip tool to make this point in the middle bigger. Maybe I want this smaller here. I'll just put another point there, make it smaller. We can manipulate shapes like that, or I can hold Alt on one side and just bring one side in. So if I just want this top side to be lower, do stuff like that there. Cool. This free transform, I don't really use this tool here. I mean, you can if you really want to, but I don't think it's worth anything. Perspective grid is super cool. You won't need it here because we're making 2D designs for the most part. But let's just say I put a perspective grid here. It's going to open up this whole thing. Pretty much what this does is when I draw an object, it's going to make it look like it is on this plane. I know you can't see that there because it's behind something, but on that plane, or I can select this box here and I can make it on this plane. And you can also manipulate this box. But for what we're doing, you don't need it. If you want to like just ever really start exploring Illustrator, you can just move this box however you want to. Yeah. And then to get out of this, kind of tricky. There's a tiny little X right there. You got to click. Other big ones that I use here, the biggest one I think you have to know is this one called Shape Builder. And this is the perk of Illustrator, in my opinion. The best feature possible they have. So let's delete all this for a second. Let's say we're going to just draw a few shapes in here. This next one, I'm actually putting no stroke on any of these. Next, I'll make a different color. And then this last one, make green here, I guess. I'm just drawing some random shapes up here, and then we're gonna get the shape builder tool. And say we want to cut some of these shapes around, highlight everything, and I can hold this or hit the shape builder tool and just drag from this one to this one. I actually want to make this blue and make it extend all the way in here, and it just cuts it out. Maybe I don't want all this like red there. I can hold Alt and delete what I don't want and drag over it. Yeah, you just do that by selecting everything and shape builder and dragging over top of it. And you'll see where that comes in play a lot later here, but that is kind of like the basic tools that I use for a lot of this stuff. The only other biggest thing that I would probably recommend you know now, let's say we have some text here. Let's say we have this logo here on the car and we want to reflect it to this side over here. I'm just going to hit Alt like we did earlier, and I'm holding Shift to drag it straight up, and we're just going to drag it all the way to the other side. To flip it, I'm just going to go to Object, Transform, and Reflect, and then you can do vertical or you can also do horizontal. And now it's on the other side, which it is backwards, but for writing, I guess I would just, oops, I didn't hit that. For writing, I would probably just get to this corner here with my selection tool and hold Shift and just rotate it around. And then the other big tool you should probably know, let's change this font. If I go to properties, I can change the font here. Let's make it this font. It's pretty cool. Also, when you're resizing things from the corner, if you hold Shift, you can make it size the same here. If I want to size it to the center, I hold Alt and Shift at the same time, it'll resize to the center. But the other thing I want to show you is if you go select this, and like I can't really edit much of this right now, but if I go to Object and Expand, hey, thank you for that follow. I can do Object Expand. We're going to expand Object Infill, select OK, and now it just makes that an object now instead of a text. And this is also super useful when you make lines. Let's say this point's like really big. Can't really do much with that, but now if I hit Object Expand, now I can change this object however I want to. Same with these letters. Since we expanded it, I can change the letters however I want to. Which this is stupid, but I'm just proving a point. That's like kind of a quick down and dirty basics of the tools that we're going to be using. Let me delete this too. So whenever you're doing a design, I'm not like an expert by any means. I've just been doing it for a while. Whenever you're doing a design, I always use very contrasting colors. So when I do these designs live, people are always like, you should make that this color and this color. And I agree. I think the colors I use are terrible. But I use colors that are very contrasting and colors that I can see. Because if they look pretty good in a stupid looking color that doesn't match, it's going to look good in colors that do match. That also just makes things pop out a lot easier and you could see mistakes. But for starters, you can choose to go to layers, keep your wireframe on if you want to. I would never turn this mask layer off, just always have it on. This is your base layer if you want to change the bottom color. Let's say we want to change the bottom color to something else. I just unlock this base layer and I'm just going to click on the center and then go up here to the top and I can change this to whatever color I want. Now the way I design cars, color in Illustrator does not matter. I cannot stress that enough. That's one of my pet peeves when people like talk about colors in Illustrator, because it does not matter. We're going to change everything in Photoshop. This is literally just the bones like of the design. So I'm going to leave this whatever I had it to. I think it was like that. Gray is a good neutral color. Make sure I have that lock. If I didn't have that lock and I try to design, I can move that box. I don't want that. So we'll lock that back. So go back up, just trying to check and make sure I'm not missing any comments here. Perfect. All right, so let's get started on some design work. We already talked about contrasting colors. Make sure you can see stuff. that's essential for sure. Next thing you have to watch out for is these panels here. If you turn your wireframe, zoom in. I'm using my scroll wheel to zoom in really quick, my spacebar to move around. These green lines are the brakes. Now these green lines here do not line up with the green lines here like you think they should. So let's show you, like, for instance, if I want to draw a box across both of these panels, let's say that I hit my Control S, and that's going to save it to Photoshop. If you're using this template here, it's going to pop up here. You're like, wow, that should match up pretty well. But I hit show you here, it absolutely does not match up at all. Like, that is terrible. And I think that's what separates really good designs from really bad designs. And you don't have to cross panels. I think when you make a design that does cross panels, and I see it because I design cars on other people's cars, but when I see designs that do cross panels and wrap very well, that increases the value of that paint by $10, $15, $20 between people that can wrap and people who can't wrap. So that's just a good skill. It's hard to learn. It takes a lot of time, effort, practice, but I think if you're out here trying to learn, trying to get a business started and do your own designs for people, learning that skill is going to set you far above anybody else. I actually have, let's see if I can find it. I have one that I've been practicing. I just practice on stupid designs. Let me see. I think it's comic. I literally just paste a lot of comics on this car and worked on cutting them and trying to move them and see if I can make it wrap, but I actually don't know where it's at. Well, I don't know where it's at. I don't know where I saved that at. Is it this one? Oh, it is this one. Here we go. I'll turn my master on here. So I was just practicing wrapping stuff. Like this panel right here is super hard to wrap on the back right of these next gen cars, which will be about right here, because there is this panel. I think you can see my mouse. It is right here. And then you have this panel, this little C post, which is right here. And then you have this triangle shaped panel, which is all the way over here on this side. So this is like a good way to practice. Comics are very hard, a lot of details in it, which is why I'm practicing with it. I would like to wrap this whole card like comics and stuff, but that's, like I said, this is just a little exercise for me, but we can make it wrap and look just like that, so it looks pretty good wrapping across 3 whole panels like that. Trying to see if there's one that I didn't do. I think I wrapped that one there. But this one right here, I didn't get to this post here yet. You can see how bad it looks. You can see right here, it's supposed to look right, but it does not look right on the car. So it's just things you can do to set it apart, especially if you're trying to go out there and design cars for people later and charge money. That's going to get you dozens of dollars. But alright, let's make a design. Cool if you have an idea when you start out. I have a little notebook where I keep most of my ideas at, but I really don't know what I'm going to do for this one. We'll start with something simple. I'm going to grab this curvature pen tool, which is for me trying to get it to pop up right here. It'll say curvature if you hold over it long enough, or just hold your mouse over it. You can select to do a stroke. The second one is a stroke. This first one's your fill. 1 point is fine. And let's just do, trying to think of something that will look somewhat cool, somewhat decent. Let's just start with a very basic pattern. So with this curvature tool, I'm going to go kind of wrap down. You know the number is going to be in this area here. So we're going to try to avoid that as much as possible. Not always the case. I'm just going to make like a little wave pattern. Goes across the whole car. When you're working with these next gen cars, don't worry about this box here. This is your hit board box. You can go right over top of it and nothing's going to happen.
Andrew says, hey girl, hey.
What's up, Andrew? I'm just going to cover up this whole area here. You can't really see it now, so if you want to change the fill, you can. We'll change it to white.
Andrew says, did I miss the YT session?
We're doing it right now. Started a little late. I had a lot of problems with YouTube because it was trying to show it on one of our broadcast streams, and that wouldn't have worked. Yeah, so we'll just start with that. Pretty simple, basic design. Nothing huge. And you've already got your first little design going. For me, I kind of hate how it doesn't tiny little details, and I stress over details when I'm making paints for people. I hate how it goes over this our logo here, like cuts through it. You might have that there, but your logo, if you decide you sell paints later, I'm just going to drag this little point here. I still got my curvature tool selected. And again, if you're using our smart templates, you hit Control S, and it's going to put it over to Photoshop, switch over to Photoshop, and I'll update on the car. Boom. Looks a lot better. So let's just say that's going to be white, but let's try to add just a little more detail to that. So I'm going to rename this layer. I'm double click here, rename it white. Now I'm going to add a new layer on top of this because we want to put a little details right on top of this here. What I'm going to do is hit this little button here at the bottom. It says create new layer. It'll make a new layer for us. And we'll just name this, I don't know, black. I'll name it gray. I'm going to make sure I lock this white layer here. Make sure my gray is selected. Grab my pen tool, change this to like a darker gray color. And I want to add kind of like a shadow, maybe. Yeah. Another point, you see how this is kind of like sticking out here? Not really a big deal. As long as it's not inside that green border, you're okay. Anything outside that green area is not going to show up on the car. So back on my gray here, let's just kind of make a drop shadow. Or a drop shadow, a shading pattern. I'm just going to follow the same curve here and make it connect. Now, you're going to try to line it up, and it might not line up perfectly. If you just hold when you're dragging here, you can put it wherever you want, and it should lock into place as long as you have those smart guides on. I'm going to double click here on this so it makes a sharp turn and just fill in all over top. Doesn't really matter where we go, because then make that a sharp point too. When I unlock the white here and I select both of these layers, I can grab my shape builder tool we talked about earlier and just cut this piece away by holding Alt and clicking. And then I'll turn my wireframe off for a second. Pull this over to Photoshop, and boom, we have a drop shadow or a shading shadow there. And you really want to keep your colors separated. That's the big thing. If you have different colors, if you have like the comic book colors I just showed you, like that's different. You can't keep those separated. But for base designs like this that you're going to be maybe changing colors later, keeping these colors separated in layers, it's going to help out a ton. So I'm going to go back to white. Let's just kind of finish decking out this car. When we do this, we don't have to design both sides. I mean, the car is kind of bilateral here, so we can do one side and then just duplicate everything to the other side and make tiny little changes. So, and again, I have no plan for this. I'm just going off a wing and a prayer here. I'll show you what I want to do. I'm going to make something go from this little part here all the way down across the front of the car and drop right here. So back on the white, I'm going to start up here. We'll probably start lower. I'll make this about like that. Actually, I'm going to, just so I can prove a point here, I'm going to do that second. Let's just draw a line here. I'm going to color in all of this. Cool. So I got this little piece here. Now we need to make this little white part go up to the hood, right? So now we got to cross panels. This is where it gets a little tough. This is where these smart vectors really pay off. I get it. They don't line up panels exactly like other people claim their smart vectors do. I get it. I understand. This is where it pays off at. So I can just go in here and I'm gonna make another one here-ish. And I'm gonna wrap this pretty much all the way around until turn my wireframe on. I want to make it go right to the midline, which brings up another good point. If you don't already, go to view and you see this little tab that says rulers. It should say show rulers. If you don't have them up, I already have mine up, but it'll give you these little rulers here at the top. And now I can just take from up here where this ruler is, click on it and drag down kind of right to the center, and it's going to create me a line. For my purposes here, I'm going to highlight that grid line that I just made and hit Control 2. And that's going to lock that, so I can't move it anymore. We can unlock it later by going to Object. Oh, sorry. Where is it at? Oh yeah, Object and Unlock All. Or Alt Control 2 if you love hotkeys, but I don't think it's necessary. And the reason why we made this halfway is because I wanted to match up perfectly on both sides, especially this little part right here. So we talked about it earlier. I'm going to hit Alt, click on this part, and just drag it over. Hit Object, Transform, and Reflect. And we want this to be a horizontal reflection. You can see the line there. It's like the line goes in the middle of the car. Hit OK. And since we have our smart vectors on, I can just drag this up, and it's going to lock in perfectly right here. Perfect. So these are the same on both sides, these little lines here. Now I'll go back in. It's going to try to start drawing from here, so you just hit Escape. And it's still trying to escape. I'm going to click on this point here. Double click it to make it a sharp cut. And I'm just going to draw this all the way across. Still on my curvature tool until it connects with this one. Now, one thing, if you do that method there to make things even, what you got to do is come to this middle point here where they connected earlier, highlight it, go to Properties, and there is this tool right here under Anchors that says Connect Selected Endpoints. When I hit that button, it's going to make everything just connect all together. And I don't know why it changed that, but I'll change that back to a sharp point. So I'll turn off my wireframe for a second. Save this to our Photoshop file. And there we go. So now we have this hood piece that is not anywhere close to where I wanted it, but that's okay. We'll fix that. So to fix that, I'm going to come in here. I can use this direct selection tool if I hit A to move this point. If I select here and just move this one point, but it kind of messes up. You can see this line like right here. It kind of messes up everything. If you want to maintain that curvature shape, just select your object and make sure you hit the curvature pen tool. And I can move this and it's going to maintain a curve for me. Move both of those points. That's still not where we want it. So I'm actually going to do that one more time. Control S is going to save it in my Photoshop, and then Shift F2. And then now we're a lot closer. So from here, I'm probably just going to go in here and take this point and slide it up a little bit. Again, I'm just hitting Control S, going to Photoshop, and then, whoa, what did I just do? I don't know what I just did there. Yeah, but I lined that up pretty well, just like eyeballing it there. So that's pretty nice. We'll take that. So now it looks like we're wrapping panels finally. So now we want to make this go down to the front of the car. So we need to come up here, whoops, to the top. Your top front, or your front bumper is right here. This one's just a little bit tricky. I mean, what you can do is, you know, have your wireframe on. Let's turn our wireframe on over here and just save it to our car. I mean, it's probably the smart thing to do. It was just, after a while, you just kind of eyeball it, but and then fix it later. But you can count the points, like 1, 2, 3. So right before the 4th point is where our line needs to start. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, and right where this point starts, about where we need to be. And kind of follow this line down. Again, I'm just using my curvature tool here.
Andrew says, I know you said you don't have a plan, but this looks like the beginning of a coke rap.
Actually, when I made that first little thing there, I thought about that. I was like, this is kind of looking like a coke rap. And I know that because I just did a coke rap. Well, it's not just did, I did it a while ago, but let's see if I find that car. It's a good eye. Where is it at? It was kind of a while back. Yeah, I did a coke rap for a guy like this, and I was like, that's kind of similar, I think. Alright, so I'm going to save this over, see how well we lined it up first try. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty close, but again, pretty close does not build return customers, and that's kind of what we're after here. So my watch is going nuts right now. Yeah, I mean, I can't really see it, and I hate iRacing's Photoshop, where their iRacing's paint booth is terrible. There's a little point there, it's just a bit smaller, so we need to fix that. Because if you're using this to try to increase your customer base, that's not going to cut it. I would never do that to somebody. Move it up just a little bit. And again, shout out to these NapDaddy Racing Smart Vectors, because I can just easily just keep going back in. Small edits. And boom, we are perfect there. So yeah, now we got this wrapped around the car here. And it's crossing 1, 2, 3 panels, which is pretty daggone good if you ask me. Alright, let's keep going. Should keep throwing stuff up there. Who cares, right? Since this kind of went here, I do want it to wrap across this panel here. This one's a little bit more curved. Let's turn my wireframe on just so I make sure I miss some things here.
Easton says, how's your night, man?
Oh, it is going, dude. Had a ton of problems with this YouTube stuff already. We were just getting going. I think if you're talking about like design work, there's really 2 schools of thought with design work. You either got wavy or you got like sharp points. Everything kind of falls into that. If you look at literally any other design car, their base template is always going to be like a wavy look or a very just like sharp look everywhere. Not sharp, like just like points everywhere. And I don't think they mix well. I could be wrong, but all right, so we're gonna save that. Yeah, and again, terrible. That looks like trash. We need to fix that. This is pretty much what the design work, the process goes by. Like, after you learn the tools, and how to do it. It's just a matter of messing around with it over and over and over and over again. Oh yeah. Now we're rapping. Cool. So, go back to another point here. We did this little gray thing over top. Let's just say that we wanted to add another layer on top of that. I'll just call this like, I don't know, red. Be sure to label your stuff. It's going to save you a lot in the long run to know where things are at, especially as your designs get more complex. But since this layer is on top of red, I can just draw right on top of this white layer. You don't really have to color in this triangle panel. It's kind of underneath the car, really. And since you said Coke, I'm going with the red now. And just to spice it up, I'm gonna throw a blue in there. Now we're just going straight Delta Airlines. Texas Rangers. America. Yeah, just getting used to like how to use layers.
Andrew says bomb pop.
Bomb pop. My wife actually bought a whole box of those with that order the other day. Yeah, just working with layers, figuring out how to do it, get things situated. Let's go back to this gray layer and add in just another little points of details here. I need to watch out and not make this super complex because no one cares. Not that no one cares, but if you're watching this, you're probably just trying to get the gist of it. You don't need all this. I'm gonna take the lock off my white and my gray, highlight both of these, use my shape builder tool over here, hit Shift plus M to get it, or just click on it, and then Alt and click on that top part to get rid of it. Now another method of shading I'll show you just because I think it's worth knowing. Like, let's say we want to shade this red part kind of the same pattern. I actually want to shade it right here. We're going to use a straight black color for this. I'm just going to put a new layer. Yeah, use black, like straight black color. Draw where we want our shading at. I would kind of go like that there. And again, we could overlap these panels because we're going to cut it out here in a second. And then I'm going to select, take the lock off this red and this blue. Highlight all that. And then get rid of this top piece. I got to make sure this blue layer stays. So we're going to draw right across all that. Make sure it stays there. That should make a perfect little shading there. I get it, like, wow, that shading sucks. I don't want straight black. What you're going to do is click on it, go over here to properties, and where it says opacity, we're just going to take it and drop it down a lot. And the cool thing about shading this way, I wanted to go to 20. Cool thing about shading it this way is that if I ever wanted to come back in here and change this red color to, I don't know, like green, that's too dark. It's still going to have a shade over top of it, no matter what I change this bottom color to. Whereas if this one, let's do it this opposite way. Let's say that I made this a dark red. We're gonna make this dark red by going to our color mixer and just sliding. You can click on this button here at the top right, and you can do. I wouldn't use grayscale. I only use RGB or HSB. RGB kind of helps you set the color, and then the HSB helps you set like how dark it is. So let's just say we make this like super dark red to be our shading over top of this red color. I'm gonna turn my opacity back up too for this example. Yeah, so like say this is how we did it the first time. We just made a darker red shading. If I ever change this bottom color, it's still gonna be dark red. So if you know your colors are gonna stay, you can do that. You can also change it in Photoshop later, but for now we're just gonna keep it this low opacity here. I'm actually gonna make it a little darker.
Dedicated to decast says new here, really wanting to learn how to do this.
Well, welcome. I'm actually recording this on YouTube right now as we're going through here. If you have any questions, drop them in here. This is part of a workshop we're doing and going to be posted on YouTube. It's actually live on YouTube right now, but it's going to be posted there later if you want to ever go back and watch it. But as far as Illustrator goes, that's about like the gist of it. That's what we're using Illustrator for. And again, it does not hurt if you were...
JDUK says what's up.
What's up, man? It's not going to hurt if you decide to come in here and keep this as like a dark red. As long as you have it labeled as a different layer, you're okay. So we'll just label this dark red. Cool. Now,
Dedicated to decast says awesome, will do.
Absolutely.
Is Illustrator a yearly subscription?
You can do a monthly subscription. I think they also have a 30-day free trial for Illustrator.
JDUK says this weekend is the classic that will be fun to watch.
So like that's pretty much it for the Illustrator side. I'm just like, I'm not going to transfer it to the other side just for the sake of this video. I just want to show how to get a basic livery on a car for now. So here's, if you're designing a car for yourself, thank you for that follow, by the way. If you're designing a car by yourself, and let's just say this is our finished product on the right side, this is all you want. You love the colors the way they are. You can just hit Control Save on our smart vectors, and it's going to transfer over here. And then we're going to hit Shift F2, and it will pop up, and boom, you have a car. And we can just go in here to this background, this or you can change your background over here if you wanted to. Under base, let's just say we wanted to be a little bit lighter. And you're all set to add decals and stuff. That's fine and all. That's kind of what the intent of the smart vectors was to do. However, if you ever want to change the colors in the future, this is what I suggest that you would do. So make sure everything is separated. Your colors are separated like you want them, layered, all that. This is why it's important to separate colors. All white should go in the white, reds and red. We're going to hit File, Export, and then Export As. And then save as type. Make sure this is set to Photoshop. And then you can just label this whatever you want. I always just label it as Convert at the very end. And CMYK doesn't matter. Oh wait, I should show you that though. When you do that, export as, and we're gonna label it as Convert. When this screen pops up, make sure this right layers is on, maximum editability is checked, and anti-aliasing is set to none. You want to make, the biggest thing is this right layers. It's got to be on. If it's not on, like it's not gonna work. So it's going to write this Photoshop file, get it set up for success. Once that saves over, we'll go over to our Photoshop file, hit File, Open, find out where you just saved that Convert at, and open it up. Illustrator and Photoshop are like family, but they're like distant cousins. So what I mean by that is this file that it saved here that we had set to 2048 by 2048 pixels is now like 8,000 by 8,000 pixels. Don't know why it does that. But what we're going to do is go to image. First thing you do when you open this, go to image, image size, and we need to change this file size to 2048 by 2048 pixels. And then hit OK. It's going to make it a lot smaller. Cool. Now what I'm going to do is select this dark red color all the way into my white. And by doing that, I'm just hitting that layer and then shift and then hitting white. Right click and go to duplicate layers. And we're going to duplicate this over to the file we're working on. And then you're like, nothing changed. No, nothing did change, but what happened is that I put that same design right on top of Photoshop now, and it's placed exactly where I had it before. It's perfect. Don't want to move it. We got it where we want it. Then we're going to turn off this orange layer, because remember, this is the one that's connected to our Illustrator. We don't want that anymore. We can change the base color to whatever we want. The way you can do this, there's two ways to do it in Photoshop. I can double click on this. I actually don't know if you can see that. I'll show you here in a second. You know what? No, I'm going to move it up here so you can see it. All right, so if you want to change like one layer color, I can double click on this.
Dedicated to Decast says, is this solely creating for iRacing? Or is there a possibility of creating water slide decals?
I'm sure you can use this for water slide decals. You just print it off. I'm not sure how water slide's printed, but yeah, let's change this base color from this base blue here. Double click on it, go to color overlay, and then you can do color overlay here and then just change color to whatever. Kind of the easiest way to do it. Pretty edible. Edible? Edible is food. I don't know. The other way to do it is to grab this paint bucket on this left hand side. Change this first color to wherever we want. And then just click on that with the layer selected, click on it anywhere. I'm gonna make sure I have this below everything else. Shift F2 because I have my hotkey set up, and boom, you're set up, ready to go there. But yeah.
Andrew says, dedicated. I use 124 water slides. Where do you buy yours? Dedicated to Decast says, what's the learning curve with Illustrator?
I personally think Illustrator is, I honestly think Illustrator is easier than Photoshop. Like, if you can learn Photoshop, I think Illustrator is, if you learn Photoshop first, it might be a little harder actually. I don't know. But the tool set that I use in Illustrator is kind of condensed, but I can do a lot more than what I do in Photoshop. Photoshop, there's a lot of options, there's a lot of stuff to do, but Illustrator I don't think is hard at all, especially for the way I use it. It's very simple. I mean, you could pick this up in a few hours. Probably watching this video here I think is sufficient to learn what you need to know. There's a few tips and tricks you'll kind of pick up along the way, but other than that, like, it's really just coloring on a screen almost, until you start getting a little bit more into the weeds and you start designing like bigger logos and stuff. Trying to find one that I did on Illustrator.
Dedicated to Decast says, I joined late. Did you start with a template?
I started with our smart vectors. Like, for instance, this was through Illustrator, and that took me a while because it's just a lot of different drawings and colors and cutting and paste, not cutting and pasting, but cutting stuff with the shape builder tool, you know, like changing the colors around, adding trees. It's a lot. And then I take it over to Photoshop and add my final touches, like these little layers here and stuff. I actually have a video on our TikTok about how I did that. But no, this is I started with our, not that one, our NASCAR Next Gen Smart Vector here, which is pretty much, it's the iRacing template, but it just allows me to save it from AI or from Adobe Illustrator to Photoshop with one click. And it helps me edit everything super quick, makes this a breeze. I would not do this if I did not have it. And we have them for most, not most, but a lot of the cars. I'm trying to expand that, but it's just a lot going on. But yeah, if you're watching this, especially on YouTube, if you're watching this, that's pretty much like the Illustrator side. After I do that part, and if we were really doing this for real, I would take all these locks off, besides the base, and just...
Dedicated to decast says, do you have more tutorials on your channel?
There is a few more, but there's just going to be a series that we're going to be doing that's going to be going for a little bit. Just learning how to make cars, probably every other Friday night. And it's not really learning how to make cars, like designs. More about how to use Photoshop to make cars and designs. Everybody has their own little style and flair. So I'm not going to teach you like you should be doing these colors. Like, no, I don't care about that. It's just more about like how to use the tools to make it. But yeah, every other Friday night they're also going to be saved. So this video that I just did now, which is pretty much just an Illustrator tutorial.
Dedicated to decast says, very cool, thanks for this.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for that follow.
User 174,636,184 says TH.
Wow. Yeah, no problem. That was my bot got the whole name down. Yeah, that's on our YouTube channel. We're actually live on the YouTube right now, and it'll be, again, like I said, posted up there later. But we'll be doing probably every other Friday night, 9 o'clock, starting off, and just kind of take an hour and a half to go through it and learn different things. Try to open this here. I'm debating if I wanted to start working on logos now, but if you do sign up for any of the workshops that we do, you will get a free template. So this whole Smart Vector template, you get this for free, and it comes with the Chevy, comes with the Ford, and it comes with the Toyota. So you get all 3 Smart Vectors for free, and it also get a
User 174,636,184 says, gonna have to get Illustrator and Photoshop and get to work, lol.
Yeah, you can also use GIMP and Photopea, but they don't translate from Illustrator to Photoshop. You could pretty much just use Photoshop for those. If you're going to do this in high quantities, or if you want to make really good designs, I suggest just getting Photoshop Illustrator. It kind of gets pretty fun. But if you do sign up, Illustrator and Photoshop has a free 30-day trial. We'll probably do this every Friday just because people are getting the free trial. They probably want to have quicker classes. That makes sense. But you also get this number set here for free. This is one of my favorite ones. This is the number set I run actually still. But yeah, so that, and you also get the next gen templates for free, so you can make your own car. But let's call it quits there, I think. This is what I'm going to do. For the YouTube side at least. Yeah, we'll call it quits there. This is where we're at here with this car. I mean, we'll probably just restart cars from the beginning all the time and just work on how to do stuff. If you do enough design, you're going to learn that you're going to make 100 designs and only 10 of them stick. Like if you do it in quantities and stuff, like it's just, you make a design like this is trash and delete it. I've been doing this for a while and I still do that every day. Like I'll make something like this is terrible and just delete the whole thing and restart. And usually the second design's always better anyways. But yeah, just a lot of practice. We'll be doing this again next Friday night on our YouTube channel. And make sure you sign up, get on our Discord, sign up for the form or through the Google form that I have posted there, and you get your free template and your free number set. You don't have to show up to the class. If you just sign up the form, you get the free stuff. That's all you have to do. So kind of worth it. I don't know, kind of worth it. But if you're on our YouTube channel right now, thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna end this one, and be doing some more stuff later. Probably start getting into Photoshop side about how to make logos and put
User
logos in the car.
174,636,184 says, I'll definitely check it out.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, the next one I think we're gonna do is kind of working with manipulating some logos and how to add logos to the cars, just cool stuff like that. But yeah, all right, I'm ending this YouTube stream. See you guys next time on that side. let's see if you are